There's a lot of controversy over the so-called liver flushes. One of the most popular liver flushes involves the use of olive oil, lemon juice, and magnesium sulfate in order to supposedly expel gallstones from the gallbladder, which is kind of ironic they call it a liver flush when they're actually supposedly expelling stones from the gallbladder, and the gallbladder is not the liver. These are two separate organs. Regardless, the evidence shows that these are not gallstones, that they are passing in the feces. What are they? Well, there's actually several different things that people are mistaking for gallstones. First of all, there's a chemical reaction that can occur in the intestines between the olive oil and the magnesium hydroxide that's formed as the magnesium sulfate breaks down, and from the bile, forming what are basically called soapstones. That's the saponification of the olive oil that's creating these so-called soapstones, or fecal soaps is another term for these. The second thing that can cause these so-called stones to form is that olive oil contains a high level of sterols. Sterols have a very high affinity for cholesterol, which is one of the reasons that we use sterol sources in order to bind cholesterol and keep cholesterol levels down inside the body. Well, as these sterols come into contact with the cholesterol from the bile that's being excreted into the intestines, the sterols bind with the cholesterol, forming insoluble complexes that look very similar to gallstones. Another form of stone that can form inside the intestines that people often mistake as gallstones is actually calcium oxalate stones. Now, calcium oxalate is generally regarded to be excreted in the urine, but it's not always the case. The majority of oxalic acid is actually excreted out through the feces instead. When the calcium oxalate is formed inside the intestines, it's insoluble, so it actually cannot be absorbed into the bloodstream, so it gets expelled as these insoluble stones.